Welcome to another episode of the MMA Lock-Cast. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOTN. This week, we're going to be going over UFC Stockholm, which is headlined by Alexander Gustafsson against Anthony Smith. Interesting fight. Don't really understand it. I guess they're both at the top of the division, but it's still going to be a compelling fight and something that I'm going to watch at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. So it's always good to have like afternoon fights. I love that shit. But we're going to be starting the shit off with the casuals with my man Big Rob. He's in the house.
Yeah.
No heart means no Robbie Woots.
Nope.
But we'll get him back. No worries.
Yo, we got a new name for Robbie.
What's it? Robbie
Hollywoots.
I like it. He's forgetting about the little people.
Yeah.
I like it. I fucking like it. I'm going to make sure I put that into the description whenever we have him back.
Okay.
Well, we got to like bombard him with it too, eh? We got to fucking threaten him with it. All right. So, this past UFC, which was almost 2 weeks ago now, UFC Rochester had a highlight reel of a fighter making his UFC debut. So I'm actually going to be showing Rob his first ever UFC KO, and then a quick highlight video of what this guy is actually possessing and what he's all about. Obviously, I'm talking about Michel Pereira, crazy motherfucker. Let's just show how he made his splash on the UFC scene. It's at 3 minutes and 47 seconds of the first round. Let's just get into it. Also, I had money on Michel Pereira, so I got to rub that in. Yeah.
Oh, he's fast.
Good little... He's unorthodox, let's put it that way. You'll see why very shortly.
Is this Street Fighter 2? Is this
pretty much
Vega?
This is Vega.
Wow.
Running, jumping off the cage, doing some breakdancing, and then just flying knees.
Wow.
So he rocked him with the flying knee, like you could see the guy kind of buckle, and then he just lands that straight right and just fucking puts that guy out.
Look at him.
He's like sculpted out of fucking marble, dude. Watch this. Let's show the replay.
He can balance on anything.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That guy weighed 170 pounds at one point. Like, 24 hours before this fight. He is massive. He's like 6 foot something. Like, shredded. There we go.
That is pretty cool.
Boom. You see the guy kind of wobble? And then just one more shot.
Oh, yeah. Let's see that again. Slow-mo.
Slow-mo. Oh, you see the vibration, too.
Yeah.
Oh, and that picture-perfect right hand. Plants him on his ass. Head bounce off the canvas, too. Oof. Oh. Crazy.
Yeah, he didn't.
Crazy.
There's no way he would have recovered. Like, and that's the thing, too, is, like, I'm glad the ref stopped because sometimes they just keep going and going. And
he
then
did as well.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
He kind of, like, he was about to punch and he kind of held back and then he felt the referee and he's like, all right, I'm cool.
I really thought he was going to get one more hit in.
So before he got to the UFC, he made his name on the local scene. So this is it's a 5-minute video. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but we'll just watch a couple minutes of it. It's called Best of Michel Pereira MMA Highlights Acrobatic Fighter. It's on YouTube. I'm just going to show him the first like couple minutes or so. Like he is just ridiculous.
Doing backflips and stuff. No.
So
how does this guy not win all the time? Then?
Nah. Oh. How
right
nuts
down.
Was that?
Right.
How nuts was that? One punch.
This is so entertaining.
That's not even half the shit.
How come more people don't do this?
Just be as flashy and unorthodox. Like, it could work, but he has lost fights too, right?
Okay. So it's not maybe as strategic.
Like, if you're very technical, you'll be able to, like, stay out of this guy's, like, wacky shit.
Okay.
And then just beat him up. Damn, he's huge there. I've never seen that one.
Know.
He's fucking massive there. Boom.
This guy's different.
Right hand. Yeah. He definitely is.
That's great.
Just his wacky, unorthodox nature in terms of, like, fucking wheel kicks and, like, cartwheel kicks and shit. Come on. Let's show us some more shit.
Now, all this stuff that he's doing, is it
actually
is it helping him fight, or is it a lot of just show kind of like...
It's show-ish, but like it worked out in his first fight. I don't know how much it's actually going to help him.
So.
Jeez, this guy was out. Fuck. Holy shit, dude. God damn. Yeah, so it worked in his first fight. I don't know how much it's going to work against the better guys. Whoa.
Oh. It didn't work for him there.
Not there. But he shoved off the takedown.
Shit.
Oh.
He uses his environment.
Yeah.
Like, he's not afraid to
He
climb
loves bouncing,
the cage. Are you allowed to climb the cage?
You're not allowed to hold the top. What the fuck?
Okay. Oh.
You're not allowed to hold the cage. You're not
Okay.
allowed to grab the fence. You're not allowed to hold the top of the cage.
But can you climb it with your feet?
You can't interlock your toes inside the fence. So you can push off it.
Okay, so that's what this guy's... Yeah. This guy's the strength. Wow. Just the tumbles, the cartwheels.
No fucks. Like, he has no concerns. What the
Look at that.
fuck was that?
He's just jumping off the fence. Look at his back flips.
Oh! And he's landing them. Oh, shit. He's, like, landing them flush, too. Like, even if he misses, like, he's sticking the landing. Fucking crazy. Oh.
Because you would think you're almost more vulnerable, but I think he catches people off guard.
Yeah.
Like,
He beat this guy now, I think.
Oh, my
Damn.
gosh. Impressive.
This guy's nuts, eh? I can't wait to see him keep fighting, but again, I don't know how far he's going to be able to really go.
Okay.
Like, his record, let's see what his record is.
This guy's fun.
Exactly. Isn't he like your new favorite fighter?
Yeah. Show me more
Show
of
me
this
more
guy.
of this guy, yeah. His record currently sits at 23-9.
Okay.
So he's had a fuck ton of fights. Like, yeah, he has some losses sprinkled in there. But he's been fighting since 2011. So in 8 years, he's compiled, what is that, 32 fights? It's fucking nuts. Guys normally fight like 3 times a year. Okay. So just put that kind of into perspective as well. All right.
So he likes to fight.
He likes to fight. And it's fine. About fucking time he's made it to the UFC. Just to show off that, like, wacky style. Mm-hmm. All right. That was a great fucking debut by Michel Pereira. I'm glad to have introduced Rob's newest favorite fighter to him.
Thank you.
So I'll definitely keep you updated every time he fights.
Thank you.
I don't know when he's going to be back
awesome,
on the card, but he's so fun to watch. Speaking of Michel Pereira, UFC Rochester was a fucking hit. It might as well have been a flying knee for me anyway, because I hit every fucking bet. That's how fucking awesome it was. Let's just kick it off. Like, I'm just going to go down my Bet MMA page, and I'm just going to break down these fights. Rafael dos Anjos. I had to settle for minus 112, and then I sprinkled a little bit on minus 105. I knew he was going to win this fight. Like, I was very confident he was going to win this fight. The only thing that kind of made me a little bit nervous was the fact that right at the beginning, right when the fight was about to happen, the odds swung pretty heavily. Like, Rafael dos Anjos was going off at roughly a plus 120 underdog by the time the fight kicked off. And that was kind of discerning because I was waiting for the plus money on Dos Anjos, you know what I mean? Like that, he started off the week as a dog and then quickly changed to a favorite. And then I waited all the way up until pretty much weigh-in day and still couldn't get that plus money. So I felt I had to pull the trigger at minus 112 on Rafael dos Anjos. Regardless, we still get the W. I'm completely happy about that. Say what you want about Kevin Lee, his coaching issues and his cardio issues and the whole fucking that Tony Ferguson staph infection issue, like you guys want to talk about. He does not have a good gas tank. Sure, people can say what they want to say about guys going up in weight and then cardio being a little bit better for them in that aspect. It could be true for some guys, but you can't automatically assume that it's going to happen for sure. So I think a lot of people, who put money on Kevin Lee and were thinking that this guy is going to be, his cardio is going to be better, so he's going to be able to grind out and put on this pace on Rafael dos Anjos that, Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman were successful in doing. However, Kevin Lee is just not that. Like, he came out like a bat out of hell in the first 2 rounds, which was kind of weird to me. I was like, okay, you got 5 rounds in this shit, right? And Dos Anjos, I think beginning of the 3rd round or the beginning of the 4th round, fucking perfect. Starts the round off with the flying knee, just lets him know, I'm fucking here. I am here for all 5 rounds. I see you sucking wind, but I'm not. I'm good. and it fucking paid off. 4th round submission, great win for Dos Anjos there. So in the end, I had 1.5 units at minus 112 to profit for 1.34 units, and then 0.5 units at minus 105 for plus or 0.48 units. That is I'm not even gonna do the fucking math on that shit, but profit, baby, profit. 89% ROI on the 1.5 units, and then 95% ROI on the 0.5 units. So you do the fucking math. Next up, we'll just go over my other or my 2 lock of the night plays. Charles Oliveira against Nick Lance fight does not go to decision. Once again, minus 260, call it juice. I don't give a fuck. We know that Charles Oliveira does not like going to decisions, whether he's the one getting the victory or he's the one on the opposite side of the score or the victory. We know it's not going to a decision. So, 5 units at minus 260, profited 1.92 units, but that was easy fucking money. I had to jump on that. No problem about it. And then Desmond Green, I had 5 units at minus 500. We all know, if you guys were following me, that I actually had a parlay with him and Vicente Luque. However, Luque, that fight, he ended up fighting somebody else, Austin Hubbard. But before that, he was supposed to fight Neil Magny. Neil Magny pulled out right after I placed this bet, so it turned it into a straight bet, 5 units at minus 500 on Desmond Green, profited 1 unit. I'll take it. It was still a win. Next up, dog of the night play, Michel Pereira, 0.5 units at plus 221. I completely understand people's perspective and Danny Roberts being the more technical fighter in this fight, and being the guy that's probably going to be able to keep his mind his P's and Q's the most. But when you have a wild man that throws with power, yes, I said power, and you guys just fucking saw it. Say what you want in the comments below. I don't give a fuck. But Michel Pereira lands on Danny Roberts, who's had shin issues in the past, and at plus 221, I thought it was a no-brainer that I had to take at least a 0.5 unit shot on that. So I did, and plus 1.1 unit profit on that shit. Dog of the night play comes through. Big win for Michel Pereira. Big way to stamp his, make his stamp on his UFC debut. And he's definitely on the radars of some people now. So it's going to be, I can't wait to see who he gets next. I kind of threw this out to Tony as well. I think that he should be matched up with the Nordine Taleb type of guy. So, that would be a good fight for him for us to see if he can really handle a guy that is very technical and, has a way better chin than Danny Roberts, I should say. So that should be a good matchup if they can get that going. What am I missing? Also, I had 1.75 units on Michel Pereira and Danny Roberts to not go to decision, and it comes through for 1 unit. And then lastly, under 2.5 rounds for Megan Anderson versus Felicia Spencer. I thought it was going to be either Megan Anderson by KO or Felicia Spencer by submission or late submission. I thought late submission, however, she gets it done real quick, and that just shows you how shitty Megan Anderson is. So, 1.25 units to profit 1 unit. No brainer for me there. So, bomb fucking event here. Plus 7.84 units. 51% ROI. Just keeping it rolling, baby. We got 4 straight events that we've just been killing it. I'm back in my groove. Finally, legit in the green. And I'm back at this event, and I'm for this Stockholm event. And I'm fucking excited because I see a lot of great spots. Initially, I thought I was only going to stick with my lock of the night play and my dog of the night play. However, once I saw these lines, studied a little bit more, my eyes opened up to a lot more spots. So I have a free bet out there that I will let you guys know about once I get to that fight. But I also have a lock of the night play, a dog of the night play, and 2 regular plays already posted on the website, mmalotn.ca/picks. Make sure you guys check that shit out. Let's win some fucking money. I am looking at one more possible underdog here. Sorry, not an underdog, but just a normal bet. The line is closing a little bit, so I want to see how much it closes before I pull the trigger. Maybe you guys could guess it if you guys listen to this podcast closely and see how much I'm on a certain fighter. But I'm going to go... I'm definitely going to place at least one more bet, so that makes a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will be 6 bets for UFC Stockholm. So make sure you guys hit the website up, show some support, and let's get some fucking money. All right. So, UFC Stockholm, headlined by Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Smith. Right off the top, I said that it's a weird fight. I mean? Corey Anderson was recently on the Joe Rogan Experience and talked about his potential fight against Alexander Gustafsson, how, the birth of his kid. Ugh. Hashtag always tired. I don't know, man. Regardless, Corey Anderson was talking about on the Joe Rogan Experience that he could possibly be fighting Alexander Gustafsson, and then he was having a kid around earlier this year, so he wanted the timing to kind of work out better. And then when he was finally down to actually take the fight, the UFC had said, "Okay, we're good." And then the next day they announced Anthony Smith against Gustafsson. So I feel bad for Corey Anderson because I think it's a more intriguing fight for him. It's that fight that will, if he's able to beat a guy like Corey or a guy like Alexander Gustafsson, that he's going to be really on the map of a lot of these of the mainstream media, and people are finally going to be talking about him a little bit more because he's been on a roll, man. He's been streaking, So he has wins like Glover Teixeira under his belt, Ilir Latifi. A guy like Alexander Gustafsson is the perfect name that you need to add to that belt or add to your list of names or your list of victims to get that shot at the title. So Anthony Smith gets a quick chance at redemption if he gets a win over Alexander Gustafsson here. Maybe a fight against Corey Anderson is what should be next for a number one contender type of fight. But, we got John Jones against Thiago Santos coming up. We probably know how that's going to go. So we definitely need a contender waiting in the wings after this Stockholm event. And you got 1, 2, 3 pretty significant fights in the lightweight or light heavyweight division, I should say. You got Gustafsson, who's just coming off a title fight against John Jones. You got Anthony Smith, another guy who's just coming off a title fight with John Jones. Ilir Latifi up there, Volkan Oezdemir up there, who just lost a very close decision to Dominic Reyes. And then you got Alexander Rakic, who's on the fucking rise, and you got Jimi Manuwa hanging around out there, who just recently lost to Thiago Santos. So it's almost like a little bit of a mini light heavyweight Grand Prix going down at UFC Stockholm, and all these fights are very exciting, so I'm very much looking forward to them. Other fights that are intriguing to me that jump off the card, Frank Camacho against Nick Hein, very intriguing fight there. The debut of Sung Bin Jo, just because stylistically I think against Teymur it's going to be a very intriguing fight. Hadzovic, I'm very impressed to see, his last performance and how he's going to continue to elevate his game. But yeah, again, Chris Fishgold as well is another guy I'm very intrigued by. And fighting a guy like Makwan Amirkhani, very interesting stylistic matchup. So a lot of big fights here. Very excited to get into it for you guys, and let's just fucking do it. Let's just let's just get it going. All right, first fight is a fight that I will preface by telling you guys I have looked into these fighters zero. I still intend on doing that through this week, so I highly recommend going to check out other people's podcasts to get the lowdown on these fighters. But I know that Joel Alvarez is coming off a loss to Damir Ismagulov in his last fight. Very tough UFC debut for him, so it's good for him to get another fight right off the bat here. So I'm going to go with Joel Alvarez. I'm just going to say that he already has that UFC jitters gone against, it's like hazing. It's like going into college and getting hazed right off the bat by here. Take one of the toughest motherfuckers out there who nobody fucking knows. So it's not even like you can be like, hey, this guy lost to Ismagulov. Most fans are going to be like, who the fuck is Ismagulov? But eventually Ismagulov is going to have a name because that guy is a beast. But right now, tough loss for Alvarez to kick off his UFC career. But I think he gets it back on track against Daniel Belluardo, whatever the fuck his name is. But yeah, I'm going to take Alvarez by decision. Next up, we got Devin Clark against Darko Stosic. I am kind of torn on this fight. I've been a big proponent of Devin Clark in terms of his wrestling acumen. I think that he's a very strong guy, but his chin has kind of been his issue here. finished by Alex Nicholson, finished by Jan Blachowicz by choke, and then absolutely demolished by Alexander Rakic. He did have success. He dropped Rakic in that fight. Yeah. But overall, that's a fight that he just got fucking murked in once Rakic got his shit together. But not very impressed with Devin Clark anymore. I think he's on the downside. And this fight against Stosic is going to be tough for him, I think. I think it's going to be tough for him to get Stosic down. I think that Stosic is really going to be able to kind of light him up on the feet. And I don't think Devin Clark's chin is really there. I need to look into this fight a little bit more. However, I do think with the work that I've put into this fight so far, I can confidently pick Darko Stosic to take this fight. I think it's unfortunate for Devin Clark. And I think Stosic is actually going off at an underdog now too. He is from roughly about minus 172 all the way down to plus 103. Wow. Absolute skyrocket within the last hour or so since I started recording this podcast. So yeah, this is definitely a fight I'm going to look into a little bit more now with the odds being what they are. Interesting to see Devin Clark has the favor here, but my thoughts don't change. I mean, I think Darko Stosic is still going to have his fun on the feet. I think he'll be able to shove the takedowns and then possibly finish Devin Clark in the first round. Next up is the second fight that I have not looked into yet at all. We got Bia Malecki against Duda Santana. Very minimal tape out there. I only have one fight for Duda Santana on the tape index. And then we have two fights for Bia Malecki. She lost her in the Ultimate Fighter, the first round against Leah Letzen, so she was out pretty early. It's interesting that she's getting a shot here. She's one of the only true featherweights. Ooh. She's one of the only true featherweights that are out there, so I guess the division is pretty wide open considering Felicia Spencer absolutely destroyed the hype train of Megan Anderson. So they're going to need ladies out there. Malecki 1-0, Duda 2-0. We'll see how they can grow up in the UFC with the thin talent pool that they already have. And I forgot to change it. Look, whatever, it doesn't matter. I might as well have showed you guys fucking Stosic and Devin Clark on the slideshow here. Next up, we got Nick Hein against Frank Camacho, a fight that I've been closely monitoring as well in terms of the odds. Looks like that Nick Hein is pulling away shortly, but it's still roughly out of pick'em, so you're getting roughly minus 120 in certain places, with minus 110 being the return on Frank Camacho. Still hasn't really hit plus money for Frank Camacho. Minus 101 is the best you're going to get at Pinnacle right now on Camacho. I think this is a really intriguing fight. So starting off with Nick Hein, he's coming off a split decision loss to Damir Hadzovic. I thought it was a unanimous for Hadzovic. And then before that, completely got out grappled and then choked out by Davy Hamos. So tough stretch for Nick Hein here. Taking on a guy in Frank Camacho, who's finally coming down to 155, which should be a very intriguing look for him. He doesn't seem like the most chiseled guy out there, so I think he has some weight to drop there. But that's 15 pounds. You're going from 170 to 155. I'm very intrigued to see how that's going to look on him. I'm going to give Frank Camacho the edge in terms of power and striking. Nick Hein does have good striking. Or decent striking, but I gotta give Frank Camacho the edge here, especially with the power that he carries. And even though Nick Hein hasn't really been knocked out, he has shown that he can get rocked. Damir Hadzovic really put it on him in that third round, almost finished him. And I think that with the power that Frank Camacho has, he might be able to put out Nick Hein as well. So earlier this week, I was kind of leaning Nick Hein. However, I'm slowly shifting towards Frank Camacho. Will I bet it? I don't know yet. It's something that I'm going to have to look into a little bit harder. I am leaning Frank Camacho, and I am going to pick him to win, especially with him being close to an underdog now. I think there's definite value on Frank Camacho there. The only issue here, though, is, again, him coming down, him getting absolutely flatlined in his last fight against Jeff Neal. But normally he has a pretty good chin. So I don't know if Nick Hein's going to be able to carry the amount of power that it's going to take to crack Frank Camacho. But I think the fact that he's coming down in weight too is another bit of possible concern with Frank Camacho. So I'm going to pick Frank Camacho, but with the external factors of the weight cut and his last fight being such a devastating loss, it might keep me away from it. But I don't know. I don't know yet. I got to see how this week goes. But I'm going to pick Frank Camacho to win. I'm going to pick him by knockout as well. I think he's going to take the second round KO over Nick Hein. Next up, we got Stevie Ray against the returning Leonardo Santos. Most people will know Leonardo Santos for being one of the last guys to beat Kevin Lee, but Kevin Lee has now come on hard times. Like I said in our Combaters episode, he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, so Kevin Lee's definitely coming on hard times. But before, he really started to explode, Leonardo Santos was one of the first guys to finish him. Kevin Lee was 11-1 at the time, and then finally got his second loss to Leonardo Santos due to punches, which is the weird part. Leonardo Santos is a world championship jiu-jitsu player, so a lot of people thought his success would come on the ground against Kevin Lee. However, he got this fight finished on the feet. In the Adriano Martins fight, he won a split decision there, but it still leaves a little bit too you still want to see more from him, and it's unfortunate. He seems like he has a lot of potential. However, he's sitting at age fucking 39 now, so he's pretty old up there. He hasn't fought since October of 2016. That's the last time we saw Dan Henderson in the cage, and that's when Michael Bisping actually retained a title that he was defending. So both guys retired now. It's insane that was the last time that Leonardo Santos fought. So he was scheduled to fight Olivier Aubin-Mercier in June of 2017. That didn't go down. He was scheduled to fight Nick Lentz in June of 2018. That didn't go down. And now here he is again once again in June. This is weird. He's done like June. Hopefully he doesn't pull out of this one because there's still like 4 days to go. But he is fighting Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray is a guy who's having a little bit of a resurgence himself. He had 2 losses to Paul Felder and Cajun Johnson, and now he came back and beat Justin Ayari in a fight that I believe I bet a little bit on Justin Ayari at dog money. But it is what it is. Stevie Ray comes in, gets a hard-fought victory there over Justin Ayari. For me, it's going to be interesting to see if Stevie Ray is going to be able to keep this fight on the ground. On the feet. With Leonardo Santos, I'm not too impressed by his ability to get the fight to the ground. And it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to trap Stevie Ray against the cage and kind of pull him down, maybe even pull guard or something like that. This is a stay away fight for me, strictly because of the long layoff for Leonardo Santos. It's hard to tell if, a guy comes back and he looks like a wrecking machine, or if a guy comes back and looks like complete ass. And especially a guy that's 39. So Leonardo Santos minus 204 right now. That's insane to me. Stevie Ray is definitely somebody to look into a little bit more, especially if you can get like a plus 180, plus 175. It might be a decent bet. I haven't bet it yet. Might bet it. More than that's another thing. When I do these podcasts and break these fights down even further, I see some spots that I feel like I may have been overlooking. So Stevie Ray is a possible another bet. Don't know yet. I'm going to say that he keeps the fight on the feet and beats up Leonardo Santos, keeping him on the outside. Well, not keeping him on the outside. He is giving up a little bit of size, but he is, he's good with his footwork and his hands, and I believe that's enough to give Leonardo Santos. So I'm going to go with Stevie Ray here, especially at that heavy dog money. Could be a possible bet. Next up, we got Tonya Evinger against Lina Lansberg. Evinger going off as a pretty heavy favorite, roughly around minus 265. Lina Lansberg around plus 200. Tonya Evinger coming off an unfortunate loss to Aspen Ladd. Before that, she pretty much got her hazing to get into the UFC to fight Cyborg Santos. I thought the matchup for her against Aspen Ladd was a little tough. She's going up against a much younger, more athletic and stronger woman in Aspen Ladd. In this fight against Lina Lansberg, she doesn't have to worry as much about the grappling here. I think this is a fight where she's going to be able to implement her grappling, nullify Lina Lansberg's elbows, and nullify her striking. And I think that Tonya Evinger, we're going to get like a vintage Invicta FC Tonya Evinger type performance. So I wouldn't be surprised to see like a submission here, but I think she's going to be able to get this fight down with relative ease and get Lina Lansberg in a submission and get this fight done with. I love Lina Lansberg. She's very entertaining. She's fun to watch. However, she is lacking in certain areas, and it was pretty evident in her Yana Kunitskaya fight. So if Yana Kunitskaya was able to do that to her, I expect Tonya Evinger to have pretty easy of a night with her, and I believe she's going to win. So I'm going to take Tonya Evinger by second round submission. Pretty quick and concise because I'm pretty, yeah. Next up, Daniel Teymur against Sun Bin Jo. I want to make sure I'm saying that right before I get, yes, Sung Bin Jo. Sung Bin Jo, the Korean Falcon, is coming in as a champion in TFC, Cutland Fight. Pretty much anywhere he's fought, he's been a champion. Level of competition? 7-4, his last guy. Before that, 20-9, 2-3, 0-5, 0-3, 0-0, 0-4-2, 3-15-2, and 1-0. Yeah. He's an entertaining fighter. He likes to keep the fight on the feet. It's fun to see him strike. Sometimes he's a little bit wide with his shots, leaves his chin up there, and I think that's something that Daniel Teymur is going to be able to find. I don't expect this fight to go long, which is why I think that Daniel Teymur will be able to find success here. I think the wild nature that Sung Bin Jo brings at times is going to be a bad recipe for a guy like Daniel Teymur, who thrives off the counter striking and can throw with as much heat as he does too. So you guys have seen me in the past. I've never been too high on Daniel Teymur because I've always ragged on him for his gas tank and how shitty his gas tank is. I believe I cashed on Chris Fishgold last time he fought him. And I think that the Sung Bin Jo fight is just perfect for him. It's perfect for him to get that victory, especially in his home country of Sweden. I think he's going to land efficiently on Sung Bin Jo in that first round and then possibly get a second round finish. I believe it was in the last fight. Yes, the last fight Sung Bin Jo had. He had his calf pretty much torn up from rounds 1 to 4 and then eventually found the finish in round 4. So it was a fight that I don't think he was winning. However, I think that this fight is a bad stylistic matchup for him. I don't think he's ever fought somebody as technically sound as a Daniel Teymur and who's had as much credentials in kickboxing as he has had. So luckily for Daniel Teymur, he's somehow getting another shot in the UFC after losing 3 straight fights. He hasn't won a UFC fight. So I think that this might actually be his chance to get that victory, and I think that he's going to tear up Sung Bin Jo's legs and then eventually get a KO. I think he's going to get him with the counter and get the finish. So I'm going to say second round KO for Daniel Teymur. All right, let's move the fuck along. We got Damir Hadzovic against Christos Giagos. Starting off with Damir Hadzovic, he's coming off of 2 victories, 2 straight wins. Nick Hein won a split decision there, and then he finished Polo Reyes with vicious ground and pound in the second round back in February of this year. Christos Giagos brings a very interesting style to this because he is a guy that can strike and then has the wherewithal to know when the right time is to take the fight to the ground. He really showed that off in his last fight where he was able to where he was able to take a decision from Mizuto Hirota. He really put it on him in those first 2 rounds. However, he showed a lot of lacking in his gas tank in that third round. I think a person with a little bit better ability to keep people off them, like a Damir Hadzovic, may have had more success in that third round than Mizuto Hirota was. Hadzovic is a strong guy. He throws with heat. rips the leg very consistently. I think that it's going to be a close fight for roughly a round and a half, but I think that Damir Hadzovic is going to start, wearing on Christos Giagos, and especially in this last fight against Polo Reyes, he really showed his diverse abilities as a mixed martial artist, getting this fight to the ground in probably a way that Polo Reyes was not expecting. I'm pretty certain that Polo Reyes was expecting a striking heavy game plan from Damir Hadzovic, but nope, switched it up on him, level changed at the perfect time, got the fight to the ground, and then especially in that second round, got him down again, and then got the finish. So I think that Damir Hadzovic and Christos Giagos are, I would give the slights, like the variety of striking to Christos Giagos. But the power and still pretty good technique from Damir Hadzovic is going to be able to hold up Giagos. But I think it's going to come down to the pace and the cardio, and I think that's where Damir Hadzovic is going to be able to take over over the last round and a half to round. And I could definitely see Damir Hadzovic finishing him late. So I'm going to take Damir Hadzovic, and by third round, I'm going to see. I love the progression that we've seen from Hadzovic since his UFC debut against Mirbek Taisumov, which was just another hazing like Yoel Alvarez fighting fucking Damir Ismagulov in his first fight. Welcome, you're fighting Mirbek fucking Taisumov in your first fight. So we're going to see some progression from Damir Hadzovic, and I think it's going to be evident in this fight. But I think we see a third round finish for Damir Hadzovic. Next up, we got Makwan Amirkhani versus Chris Fishgold. I said this off the top. Very intriguing matchup. So we got Makwan Amirkhani coming off a win over Jason Knight over a year ago. It's interesting to see why he only takes like roughly a fight a year. In 2016 he fought once, 2017 he fought once, 2018 he fought once, and now it's already halfway through 2019 and he's fighting once. So he's always been an interesting prospect, very good wrestling, very very much improving boxing as well. He has a very crisp 1-2, but sometimes he keeps his chin up there, and that's going to be some issues, especially with the guy who throws with such heat as Chris Fishgold. I'm interested to see how the grappling is going to work out, because I believe that Fishgold has more of a pressure style. He's going to be the one coming forward, I think. I think he's going to be the one landing his bombs too. He might have to, take a couple shots, but I don't think that Makwan Amirkhani possesses that much power in his hands to finish a guy like Chris Fishgold. So I don't think we're going to see a Calvin Kattar type of performance from Fishgold. I think he's going to be very successful and, pushing the pace, getting the better of the grappling exchanges, and possibly even catching and finishing Makwan Amirkhani, because he throws with a lot of fucking heat. He had a lot of success with Calvin Kattar earlier in the fight, but I think it's going to be different for Makwan, because Makwan just, his style of his boxing, it's nice and crisp. He has a great one too, but he does keep his chin up a little bit, and I think that's going to be concerning for a guy who throws looping hooks like a Chris Fishgold, and just that fucking little ball of power that he is. I think it's going to be trouble for Makwan, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get the better of the grappling exchanges, because I think I'm going to probably side that with Chris Fishgold as well. So I'm going to take Fishgold by second round submission. I'll take him by submission. I think he gets a guillotine choke on Makwan Amirkhani, probably second round. I'm taking Chris Fishgold. Next up, we got Jimi Manuwa versus Alexander Rakic. Jimi Manuwa coming off of 3 straight losses. Volkan Oezdemir, 22-second knockout. Jan Blachowicz, and then amazing, ridiculous war against Thiago Santos back in December of this past year. So took roughly 6 months off. He's right back at it. Do I think that's enough time for him to recover off of his chin issues? Absolutely not. I think he's going to be in big trouble here against Alexander Rakic. Not a lot of people know who Rakic is, but he is deservedly the favorite here. I think that he has an advantage in power, athleticism, overall game. His ability to get this fight down whenever he wants to, I think is going to be a big issue here. I think it's going to come down to Alexander getting this fight to the ground and completely pounding out Jimi Manuwa. It pains me to say that, because I've been such a big Jimi Manuwa fan since the moment he stepped into the octagon. But age is catching up to him. Chin is catching up to him, and Alexander is just on a fucking strut, like just on an amazing run right now. 27 years old, just a fucking budding prospect, and I think this is going to be the first big name under his belt, and it's going to be very, very decisive. So I'm going to take Rakic by first round KO. I could see it being on the ground, but I'm not with Jimi Manuwa, he does pack power. That's one of his things. So I could definitely see him touching Rakic. And, people can say what they want about Devin Clark dropping Rakic twice. In my opinion, it was only once. It was more so of an off-balance push that got Rakic down after a big start from Devin Clark. But that second one, yes, that was absolutely a drop. But Rakic got his senses back pretty quickly. And he was able to, turn the tide. I trust his chin. I absolutely trust his chin, and I think that he this is a really great spot for Alexander Rakic, and I think he's going to burst onto the scene. I'm going to say first round ground and pound TKO for Alexander motherfucking Rakic. Next up, we got Volkan Oezdemir against Ilir Latifi. Some people want to say that Volkan Oezdemir has made some strides in the Dominic Reyes fight. He looked better than he did in the Anthony Smith fight. I agree. I had money on Volkan Oezdemir there and against Anthony Smith, and that was very discouraging when that happened the way it did. For me, it's going to be interesting to see how Volkan deals with Ilir Latifi's wrestling. Latifi doesn't lean on the wrestling as much as a guy with his acumen probably should, but I think in this fight he knows that it's pretty obvious that Volkan Oezdemir will have the most success on the feet. That's where he's going to be able to utilize his power more. So what the fuck do? Get as close to him, get him to the ground, and take away his power, beat him up on the ground. I think Latifi could easily grind this fight out if he leans on that strike or on the grappling. If he fucks around too long on the feet, it's going to make people backing him pretty worried, and I would completely understand why, because we have seen Latifi with chin issues in the past, and a guy who packs as much power as Volkan Oezdemir, you got to hope that Latifi gets this fight to the ground ASAP. And I am not sold on Volkan Oezdemir's wrestling. And we've heard from numerous people, including DC himself, how strong of a wrestler Ilir Latifi is and how just strong the motherfucker is. So I think that he's going to have success with his wrestling here. And I think he's going to be able to grind out a decision over Volkan Oezdemir. So I'm taking Ilir Latifi to bounce back from that loss to Corey Anderson back in December. That moves us right the fuck along to our main event. The return of the Mauler Alexander Gustafsson against Anthony Smith. Weird fight. I'm not going to get into it as much as I did right off the top on my quick thoughts of this. But Gustafsson coming off a loss to John Jones, a complete 180 from the fight that he had with John Jones the first time around. It kind of just looked like he gave up, or John Jones just said, fuck it, let's take over, gets this fight to the ground and absolutely pounds out Alexander Gustafsson. And then with Anthony Smith, we get a 5-round decision of John Jones just picking apart Anthony Smith. Not really going too hard for the finish, but just picking him apart and getting the victory there. So this is pretty much like you can't really say that Anthony Smith would deserve another title shot if he gets a win over Alexander Gustafsson. I think that if Smith wins here, I think the odd man out is Corey Anderson. Whoever wins here should fight Corey Anderson, and I think that's how you can get a legitimate number one contender. May it be Alexander Gustafsson again? I don't know. May it be Anthony Smith? Maybe people would be a little bit more warm to that one rather than the Alexander Gustafsson fight. I don't know. But again, you got to get Corey Anderson in there to fight the winner of this fight. I don't think they're going to give Corey Anderson a title shot after this Thiago Santos and John Jones fight. So, bleh. But with this fight, with Gustafsson and Anthony Smith, Gustafsson really likes to implement his long-range striking, the beautiful finishing technique he had over Glover Teixeira in round 5 of all rounds as well, was a thing of beauty, just a triple uppercut, and then finally puts Glover down. He has a lot of skills on the feet, and he's slowly getting better with his grappling too. He was able to get John Jones down a couple fights, or the first time they fought. So that was a big thing. The way he beat Jan Blachowicz as well, didn't look like the world beater Alexander Gustafsson we knew, but was still able to implement his grappling and his clinch game and win a victory that way too. With Anthony Smith, I think this is where size is another reason why it's going to be tough for Anthony Smith to thrive or be a top 3 guy at light heavyweight, because I think that just how big Alexander Gustafsson is, I think he's going to be able to get Anthony Smith down. I think he'll have even a lot of success on the feet. I trust I trust Alexander Gustafsson's chin, so I don't think that Lionheart's going to be able to pull out any type of, wait it out to the third round and like overarm Gustafsson, because I trust Gustafsson's cardio as well. So I don't see how Anthony Smith really wins this fight. I think, in all aspects of the MMA, Alexander Gustafsson hasn't beat. I don't know if, the only thing you might be able to harp on here with Gustafsson is where is his mentality. He may be fighting again, but, he knows that he's probably never going to be able to touch that gold as long as John Jones is in the 205 division. So does he just take these types of fights and like hopes that he lingers around at the top long enough that he can outlive John Jones at 205? Maybe, but he needs to get a victory here, and I think it's a very winnable fight. I think this Anthony Smith Cinderella story is kind of coming to an end. Say what you want about the timing of some of these fights he's had against Rashad Evans, Shogun Hua, the Volkan Oezdemir fight. He ended up getting a title shot. Bravo, good for him. But that just also shows you how thin this light heavyweight division is, because there are guys that are on ridiculous runs right now in other divisions. 7 wins, 6 wins in a row. Anthony Smith puts together 3 wins and then gets a title shot. So with Gustafsson, I don't think his Anthony Smith's Cinderella story continues. I think we see Gustafsson kind of toying with him on the feet and probably get like a later 4th round finish, probably ground and pound TKO. But I think it'll be an entertaining fight. I think Anthony Smith will be in it for the maybe first round and a half or so. But I think that Gustafsson is slowly just going to take over with the striking and then get the finish in the 4th round. Yeah, I got Gustafsson 4th round. Plain and simple. That's it. That's a wrap, baby. We're back for the MMA Lock-Cast. Thank God. Felt like forever. We'll be back again next week to go over UFC 238, which is a big motherfucking event. I can't wait for that. And then after that, there's a week off. And then after that, June 22nd, we got 9 straight events. So money, 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 money. I think that's 9 times, regardless. I'm super excited. I want to keep this run going, especially since I changed my style of, adding in just regular bets now. Everything's going fucking great. Me saying that, hopefully knock on wood, we keep this ball rolling. Again, like I said, I'll probably have at least 6 bets for UFC Stockholm this weekend. 5 of them are already posted. And my one free bet, sorry, I did not go over it. I skimmed over it. It was Daniel Teymur and Sung Bin Jo. Fight does not go to decision. I have 2 units at minus 175. That is my free bet. I input it on betmma.tips. Accidentally as a free pick. Regardless, I'll give it out as a free pick. I'm not going to, bother my guy, Mike, to change the website just so I can get it as a block pick. So enjoy the free pick. Hopefully it wins you guys money. Hopefully it's enough to bring you guys back and trust me with your money some more. But I also, again, besides that, I have 4 other picks posted. And I got 1 more probably coming up in the next couple of days. But we're killing it. MMALOTN.ca for everything you need. Combatosaurs, the last episode that we just recorded on this past Friday, is about to come out very shortly. Hopefully tonight, the day tomorrow. I'm not sure. Very shortly. I promise you guys are going to enjoy it as well. We had a whole segment on Game of Thrones because me and Tony fucking love that show. So if you guys want to relive it a little bit, make sure you guys watch that. And then we also cover Volkanovski, Aldo, the whole featherweight shake up now with all the matchups being announced. And then I can't remember what the last topic was. Regardless, I think that you guys will enjoy it. And the listenership is going up as well on a podcast to podcast basis, so we want to keep that going as much as possible. But that's pretty much about it. I gotta shut the fuck up. I've been talking for too long. At MMALOTN on Twitter for everything you need from me, all my thoughts, everything. I just fucking it's my diary. And you guys can hit me up in my diary whenever the fuck you want. So my DMs are always open. Hit me up. That's about it. I think so. Hit me up in the comments below. Let's fucking chat. Let's talk some shit. Whether you want to hate, whether you don't want to, it's all good. Or whether if you want to tell me you're wrong, you know who you are. Yeah, like, subscribe, do all this shit. I'm done. I'm out. Peace.